Welcome to Countdown to Infinity, an Avengers podcast. I am so excited. We're 3 weeks out from when Avengers Endgame came out. Baby.
How far out are we from fucking Spider-Man?
We're only a month and some change away from Spider-Man.
Really? That
Far from
close,
home.
Huh?
So-
Not too far at all, though.
Not too far from home, baby.
Yeah.
If this is your very first podcast, there's a whole lot of episodes. We are trudging along here.
Yeah, wondering why the fuck you're listening to this.
I know, there's so
This
many.
is your first podcast.
Whoa.
I think we're close to episode 60, or maybe we're at past 60. But so we watched every single Marvel Cinematic Universe movie in season 1, leading up to Infinity War, and then we talked about every single superhero
Leading up to Ant-Man and the Wasp.
leading up to Endgame. So and Endgame came out. That episode's out there too. It's really fun. My name's Emmanuel, one of your permanent hosts.
Hey, I'm John, one of your other hosts.
Andrew's not here. He is no longer a permanent host.
That's true. No, totally.
Was he on every single?
He
episode?
was.
Yeah, Drew's like a very interesting person. He has taste.
That's a very good word to
Yeah.
use. Interesting. Yeah.
It's not offensive. It's not promoting anyone.
It's
It's
very
just
neutral, honestly.
Yeah, interesting.
It's like when you see when you see a person with a haircut you don't like and you don't want to insult them, you just say, "Your hair is very interesting."
Ooh, yeah. I've
That's-
had people say that about
totally Drew.
People have
actually.
said that about me. They're like, "You're really interesting." And I'm like, "Huh."
Oh, okay, cool.
guess-
But was it a girl or a guy though?
Both at the same time. Yeah.
Non-binary.
They told you
Non-binary.
all the.
Yeah. And Adam is here. Adam, who
That's
was
me.
we were on season 1 at some point.
I was
Oh, you were,
on the Winter Soldier Boy.
Oh, you had one of the better ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was pretty
yeah.
awesome.
Did you guys do you guys watch like video essays on films like on YouTube? Or you guys kind of like
Oh
in that
yeah,
realm
yeah.
of
Sometimes,
things?
yeah.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
on Orson Welles sometimes.
Although I will say,
Yeah.
no one has ever called it a video essay to me.
What is it called?
A
film?
viral like Charlie Bit My Finger.
Well,
think-
there's this.
God damn it.
There's this YouTuber called Patrick H. Willems. Have you heard of him?
No.
No.
He's pretty good. I think he's a bit of a contrarian, but he makes very well thought out essays. And he did a whole series I haven't watched totally, but it was on the MCU.
Are you plugging another?
I mean, like
entity?
I don't have any financial connection with Patrick H. Willems, but he brings up an interesting
Yeah.
point about
What's his
Marvel.
download number like? Is it more than 160,000?
Yeah,
Should
for
we be
sure.
worried? Oh
Yes.
shit.
Yeah, he far exceeds you at combined.
Well,
with
he
all-
should be promoting us.
I'll tweet at him or something.
Yeah,
I don't
do
even
that.
have Twitter. He talks about how there's no progression in the Marvel cinematic universe. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
The Marvel, the
Those are
MCU.
pretty black and white though. Like
Yeah.
it's stuff we choose.
I mean,
not
like
to talk about.
overall, there's no consequences to anything. At
Oh,
all,
definitely.
you
Like,
know?
I think we might have said that during the previous episodes. I can't for the life of me remember which, but like it's the fact that it's endless. Like it's
Sorry, I
it's
didn't want to
basically
take over this podcast.
No.
no.
You know
You're
what I mean?
totally right
Yeah.
because like me and Drew have been talking about. I mean, Drew's not here, but we've been talking about like how. Yeah, like this has to hit beats because it needs to resonate with a.
Well, yeah,
with a
because
large
you'll
audience.
have you'll have the conflict, and then it'll just go right back to a neutral point that was at the beginning of it, to where
Mhm.
it's like, okay, now we can input another story without any risk to the overall arc, which is kind of genius in a way because
It's a comic book thing.
yeah, exactly, yeah. I think that's what he said on the
Yeah.
video essay, and it's like it makes sense because you're gonna have so many different writers, and you're gonna have all these people, and you have all these issues that you have to keep up with, and it's like it's a sustainable mode of creativity. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see things change over time, but I mean, I get it. It makes sense for the business model that Marvel and Disney set
Yeah,
up.
the MCU is very much a macro level of storytelling. It's what is going to happen across the span of 6 movies, and there's
Is that macro?
Is it macro?
Yeah, it's macro, not micro.
Okay.
Micro is like per movie. What is the thing that's going on in this one movie, and how do they get?
Like the overall thing, yeah.
Yeah, I think they very much look into the overall picture, and they kind of plan out where are these characters going to end up across the span. It's like planning a TV show.
Technically, it's like like a TV show, but technically, it's a bit lazy. But it's easier.
Hot take.
It's easier.
Oh
I
my
should
gosh.
say.
Super hot take.
Because
I don't think you know who listened to this
I
podcast.
I shouldn't. I'm sorry.
Give
all
out
you
your
listeners.
Twitter
Yeah, yeah.
handle.
No,
I
keep
know.
going. Please,
kidding.
please
Yeah.
keep going.
I don't mean that in a insulting way, because I get it that it in the way that it's lazy, it's actually a boon to it in the sense of creative freedom to anybody who wants to be making films for it. Like, I mean, someone could just come in and make a Punisher movie or something and have whatever story they want, as long as the A and B points, the start and the beginning, I mean the start and the end, come back together, so you can just continue on with the entire universe with itself without like having any major, difference. So it's like it's kind of a weird thing that you're bounded by the studio, but also have all the freedom between that. You know what I mean? It's kind of fascinating in that way.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, and it does take it a lot from the from just the serial nature of these comic books to
Right.
where there's another issue coming out, and that it's not like they're going to stop making issues. And I think that's what's really exciting about this multiverse that's being set up at the MCU is it will create something where there isn't there can be more risk because
That's what I'm saying.
they don't have to be.
It's a multiverse.
Yeah.
Why not just like?
Well,
do
now it's
something
here.
insane?
It's here now after 10 years and all
Like,
these really
Doctor
big movies.
Strange saw 14
All of those,
14
yeah,
million possibilities,
Yeah.
and one of them Tony Stark probably farts and
Yeah.
kills Thanos. or
Even
something.
even in the Doctor Strange movie, like he actually goes through a visual representation of the fucking multiverse.
Yeah.
Like he's like thrown into it. Like he's being ripped apart per se because he's like going through all these like dimensions.
Yeah.
So shit.
There's a couple things I want to talk about this episode. The first thing that I'll talk about, and it kind of ties in. So I'll talk. It was the last thing I was going to talk about. It was there's now an interesting article. I gotta find out where it was from, but it's basically a breakdown of the structure of having two movies as a finale, and we'll talk about finales
Isn't that like
in a
a-
broader sense in a bit.
Okay, never mind.
But it's also it's an interesting idea because it is kind of risky because if people didn't like part one, what will make them come back for part two?
Oh shit!
But
Okay.
it-
I'm
but
just
it-
gonna hold my tongue.
but if
keep talking.
But
Sorry.
if it does work, it's an incredibly smart thing because you get this this idea that it's must see. I have to watch it right now.
right.
You get that twice. You double
Hey.
the box office that you normally would get, and you double the just for probably a past year now. You double the conversation you normally would have had.
Is this
if
a
this
hot
was just
take,
one
though?
movie?
This is a hot take though. Infinity War was the true ending of the MCU, and everything else is just kind of like one of the endings and just a made up ending that doesn't matter.
You mean this one?
Well, like Infinity War was because Thanos was right all along. So like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
You could end
Oh,
it at
yeah,
Infinity War.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Infinity
sorry.
War is a natural ending. That could be the
yeah,
end.
you could totally not
Yeah.
even care about Endgame.
And I think we
this is
talked
fine.
about it
But I
on.
feel like Endgame was like a total game changer, even towards Infinity War. Like it was a
But, like,
response to
Endgame
the
is-
craziness that the Endgame was.
Endgame was fan service payoff, while Infinity War was an interesting take on like the superhero
Losing?
ideal. Yeah.
Like the loss. Basically.
Yeah, and like
that
the
they take.
the approach that you would take, the approach that what saving the universe is, like what you what the risk is involved. Because Thanos is like one of the best characters in the MCU, so that's why it's like Endgame is like, I loved Endgame. Don't get me wrong, but it is just a fan service movie.
It
That's it.
maybe, but these two movies were written together to be one big long movie.
Well, for sure.
So
yeah.
the outline, and I think we talked about on Endgame, is they originally were going to have the cuts in different places between the movie. It was going to originally it was going to end. It wasn't going to end with a Thanos snap. It was going to end with them. I think with Ant-Man coming back. That's how Infinity War was going to end. And so they were going to tell this really long, big story, and they just had to decide where it would end to where it would have the maximum effect for viewers to be like, I want to go back and tune in next week.
They shouldn't have had that post-credit scene in Infinity War. Just putting it out there.
Yep.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Captain
the
Marvel?
Captain
Yeah,
Marvel
that was
one. Yeah.
dumb.
It wasn't as...
It was almost like baity a little
It
bit.
was baity.
that was lead in for the Captain Marvel movie, not so much the
the whole
it had nothing to do
over
with
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But John, what
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
want to say about the finale thing? Because it's hard to have a finale. I will say that. We're learning now from Game of Thrones and every finale ever
Can we talk
that
about
you
Game
can't,
of Thrones?
not on this
No.
podcast, but finales are difficult because nobody wants it to end. But if it does have to end, it's something that people think that they have an emotional investment in
Yeah.
and
That's
have a
sorta
specific
weird.
thing that they want.
What was the question again? Sorry.
But
Like,
what
it's
did you
just like-
think about this whole finale aspect for Avengers Infinity War? And
I thought it actually the way it was executed was like not bad. Like it's it kind of gave me closure, which is something that I couldn't say before, in any of the other Marvel movies, even like from the stuff that we've reviewed and on the podcast and stuff like that. It was almost jarring because it kind of is an ending, even though it's not. Like that like the Black Widow movie or the Eternals or Doctor Strange 2 is coming on the horizon. I thought it was like not bad for what they're actually doing. Like again, because like they're doing all this stuff now where it kind of like caps it. At least I don't want to. Caps it like era wise because they're obviously like they're selling the fact that this is the end.
for the biggest character,
yeah, like
Right,
the Russos are going on this like fucking campaign apparently trying to explain the ending or the
It's
the
payoff
decisions.
central, man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's literally like all was it?
it's
20
fan
movies,
service. Like it's literally fan service
setups.
central.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like that's I want to say that it's Endgame is kind of like this nostalgia centered film in the sense of like let's go over all the previous iterations that we had in the MCU as much as we can, at least the key like moments, and let's pay them off. It's like you go to Vegas and you are finally cashing in all those chips.
Yeah.
Like you're done with gambling, and let's just like get everything going. And I loved it. Like it was amazing in that sense. And that's the beauty of Endgame. It's
Oh,
like
definitely,
it's that indulgence of the fan service and nostalgia porn that is Marvel.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
exactly.
mean?
Like
Yeah.
I feel like this is the it's funny, like you talk about Game of Thrones, but like this is the actual satisfying
Yeah.
version of long-term storytelling
Mm.
because like you don't have anywhere else to go because like the hero has to win and stuff.
Mhm.
So like you write that into it, but it's very satisfying. So like it's to me it doesn't it doesn't like it doesn't have a negative connotation to me. Like I think it's
Right.
pretty great. The only thing that's really weird to me is the fact that like you don't answer these things that happen during the plot, like the
Mhm.
time travel stuff. But you know that this universe is gonna go on, so
You don't need to
yeah,
necessarily.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. You don't need to the question is open ended, and you don't know how you're gonna get the actual answer to whatever was raised before, but it's gonna be okay because they kind of know what they're setting up. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's difficult, and I started thinking about it and other films, and thinking about what the finales were for some of the better films, and it's difficult to think of one that usually, especially at this level where we're talking about big budget movies, because normally the reason why they stop making a movie is because it didn't do well. Does that make sense? Like they stopped making a sequel for this movie because it didn't do well. So it didn't have a planned finale like Endgame was. Even though they're continuing, this was a planned finale for a certain thing. Like now people are going back. Blade Runner 2049. Another every Harrison Ford thing. Like now they're going back to have planned finales to older things. But like if you think about a lot of these franchises, they don't have planned finales. They're just like, oh, the last movie didn't do well. We're not going to make any
Yeah,
more.
because it's the way like writers or like creators work. Like, you're just trying to get people interested in the next thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
So like, you're not trying to write an ending for that because
You want there
people to
more, yeah.
watch, to watch more. And stuff,
Well,
so.
I think to tie it back to Game of Thrones a bit, there's like two. I think George R. Martin had said like there's two different approaches to writing. There's the architects who know like each and every plot point,
Beat.
like
Yeah.
each beat. like Harry Potter would be a great example. Like J.K. Rowling knew like what would happen throughout the whole series,
Yeah.
right? Like this, and that. And there's other ones who are like more like growers, like they're people who like plant seeds and let the characters kind of do what they would naturally do. And sometimes the garden can get overgrown and the gardener can't like keep up with it. And that's kind of like what happened to Game of Thrones.
Yeah, with George Martin, like
Yeah.
it just bloomed into
And he's a gardener.
much more. Yeah.
He's a gardener. He just lets those things grow. And I think for these big like MCU stuff like that, it's more of an architect sort of thing. Like we can't let too much character development get in the way of the whole arc of the
What's
universe.
about to happen? Yeah.
Yeah, because like we need to keep it within the beats of like every
The Marvel
single...
universe. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Like, so
there's nothing,
Galactus and
there's
stuff
nothing
like
wrong
that.
with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it's
there's
not-
nothing
yeah.
wrong with it. It's just a different way of
But you kind of
approaching it. It's just that
but a certain
the
fan
cons-
knows
Yeah.
people like what's coming. In other words,
Yeah, the cons are just that you have to sacrifice like realistic characters. You have to, because like they're gonna make a weird choice because you have to be in line with the order of events.
Mm-hmm.
What
So-
benefits Marvel to that respect is they have such fantastic source material that they
Right.
don't necessarily need to create the beats themselves, but just find out where they go. Does that make sense? Like a lot of the twists that happen in
Like
Marvel
they have like each
have
like,
happened
yeah.
in these comic books, so they just have to choose the ones that work for them,
Mhm.
and they can't, and no one can blame them and say, well, that's out of character. Well, no, it's not, because it's in the actual the Bible of this character.
Right.
And so they just have to decide, well, when should we do that? When should this character turn bad? Let's put him in like the fourth movie.
That's
or something
still,
like that.
I mean, that's still very difficult. I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah.
still it's still a really weird game to play.
Yeah, because like Endgame, it's like it's so strange how it all worked out. I mean, in a good way. Like I think it's fascinating how like it all worked out, but like you're not really thinking about really how Captain America or Iron Man or Thor would really react to this. Like Thor was
Right, yeah.
cool in the sense that he actually had some development for once in his fucking
Yeah.
life, where he becomes
But he became
dummy
a slacker.
thick.
Yeah.
dummy
Yeah.
thick Thor. But it still needs to be within the but those choices of character development were in the sense to serve the plot though, because like Thor could have been the one to put on the Infinity Gauntlet and he could have handled it, but like we didn't want that. We wanted the payoff of Iron Man being the one to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, there's no question that Iron Man would have done it because Thor was, fat and lazy.
Yeah.
And Hulk already had done
yeah.
done it before to bring everybody back. So it's like it's like plot conveniences at the risk of like, realistic like character motivations. But it's fine. It's not a bad thing. It's just more of like what you have to compromise to get the job done.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is, and partially because it is so packed of just stuff. I mean, I guess plot. I mean, we talk about all the time travel. It's just a packed movie. It'll be interesting, and I haven't done this, but maybe we'll go back and watch Infinity War and this movie back to back and
What
see.
the fuck?
I know, you know,
B2B.
in a week where we're off.
Yo.
just to kind of see how they
In fact,
play
we should
together
just watch from Iron Man 1 and just
all the
like,
way through.
all the way through.
That's not even 23 hours. It's more than that. It's like
John
4 days.
Favreau when he
Call us,
when he
baby.
directed Iron Man 1, he knew what Endgame
Well, because
was
it
gonna
is at the end of the day, that is the context. That's why these
Yeah.
movies seem so like dot at the end is
Yeah.
because they're sort of meant as a longer piece, like a long marathon of
be.
things.
Right.
I mean these movies, a lot of them work well as their own thing. I mean
Yeah.
that's why they're able to hire such great filmmakers.
Mhm.
And say, hey, you've got this chapter in this really long book, but I feel like you're meant to, and that's why this podcast I think did so well, is because people are they read the book, they watched every chapter, and they're like, we're now at the ending of this book, and like we read every chapter, and what are we gonna get? So
And we want to talk about
it's
it,
meant
yeah.
to be that way. So it's
You didn't
really
get my
really
burp,
cool,
right?
huh?
You get my burp.
No,
at
on
that
the
point? Okay, I was just wondering.
it was gonna go unnoticed until now, honestly.
I'm just
the-
saying. Yeah.
The other thing I want to bring up is something I didn't know. And so for this movie, there were 2,400 visual effects shots. There were 12.
Oh my god.
There were 12 visual effects
Ooh.
companies. ILM was just
This
one
is
of them.
the peak where we're gonna get like a big budget filmmaking.
Oh yeah,
At this point.
humongous. But here's what I didn't know: is because of rights, what happens, even if you worked on a previous movie, is all of your computer files. So let's say you were making Rocket Raccoon on your computer, and for 1/2 of 1 second of a scene, you made it great for Guardians of the Galaxy. When it comes to Endgame, you can't just download that same thing that you made. All of that is gone. That is all the rights for that one movie for the one studio. So every time you see Rocket Raccoon, he's recreated from scratch every single time. And the closest
Oh my
that
God.
it's
pretty
weird
crazy.
rights stuff, but the closest thing they can do is they hired the same visual effects producers, but completely different people had to make every effect in this movie. And I just think like that
It's kind of terrible.
what
a
an
little bit.
inefficient way to do
Yeah,
it. But
like it's fucking the movie industry does not
How many types
have
of
their fucking.
how many Bradley Coopers do they have to recreate? too?
Yeah, like it's like their coins are not together. Like at this
I don't,
point, that's
what-
fucking stupid.
I feel like I don't know what they do. That are they afraid that someone's gonna just take Groot on their thumb drive and then like
I think so. Yeah, like cause like they did the template for Rocket Raccoon for Detective Pikachu. Really,
Yeah.
so
same people, right? Who
yeah,
did
yeah,
it?
yeah, exactly. So I guess, but the thing is like, whoa, like it's
It's a very tedious thing
yeah,
to
yeah,
be like,
exactly.
okay, let's
Like,
start
why
from
would you want
scratch.
to do that?
Every
It's
single
kinda
movie,
crazy.
let's start from scratch and make a new thing. But I do think that most of Endgame, if anything, I mean it's a lot of things, but if anything, it is still a filmmaking marvel in terms of logistics.
Yeah,
To
it's an actual cinematic
it is
season
insane.
finale.
Yeah.
to like whatever the fuck they had.
Whether
like,
it's just the elements that make up this thing, the scheduler who could get everyone
It's
together. On the
literally
same
imagine
day.
that guy.
yeah.
Like that guy's gonna sleep for like 2 days straight. Like
And now
or
we're-
if he hasn't done it now.
And now
Like,
we're getting
imagine.
like really cool set pics with everyone, and they're making meals with each other.
I
And
don't think
we can see the
anything's
background
bigger than
what they're doing.
this. Like, there's never been before seen like
Godzilla will. No, I'm just
Like I
making
guess
that
No,
up.
that's it.
technically,
Like,
I mean, like,
size-wise.
how many famous actors all just put into one fucking thing? It's insane. We've
Yeah,
never
that's
seen
totally
this
true.
before.
Yeah,
it's the first
exactly.
of its kind. Yeah,
I-
I don't think we'll ever see it again in our lifetime.
nope,
honestly.
not at all. This is like
Yeah.
probably the only thing that people will gravitate to when it comes to like a giant cast,
yeah.
critically acclaimed or otherwise. Just
Mm.
on that, on that front.
The only
Come on, DC.
I know. Well,
Catch up,
well,
DC.
so this is
I
the
don't know.
da-
But DC's going a little too hard
Yeah.
for their
They're going
own
to-
good.
they're taking a hard left. But this is the dangerous thing. And I mean, I love event. It's good when it's successful. But I now feel like every movie studio is going to try to attain. We talked about this on the Mummy Returns podcast, I think.
Oh, the Dark Universe.
They're all going to try to create
their own universe.
They're,
Really.
and that's
Yeah.
all everything will be
Pokemon's
about.
probably going to be that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's how corporations work. You need to have you would love to have a 20-year like plan of like what your projects are going to
Yeah.
be and all set up. But Dark Universe really just kind of
And
shit the bucket.
you can't
man.
replicate. I mean, the Kevin
Feige.
he talks about how many mistakes led up to the MCU being what it is, and like how much they had to risk everything 40 times, or how are they about to lose everything all the time. And so you can't replicate that. Like
It's kind of crazy
it's-
how it even happened because Iron
Yeah.
Man 2 was not like the best thing ever, right? And the Incredible Hulk was like kind of
yeah,
I don't know, kind of wonky, right?
they legitimately thought they
Yeah.
could never make a Marvel movie without Iron Man in it because that was the only one
that
that
they had
people
yeah.
like understood. And then it started, happening. Like it started working. And then Avengers, everyone was like, "This is the craziest thing. This is
Yeah.
the biggest thing ever." This first Avengers movie. And so it's hard. No studio can replicate what Marvel has done because Marvel took some extraordinary risks in the beginning. And now they're like playing with house money, like they can do whatever they want.
Right.
But until you get someone else who takes those big risks, then it should be okay.
But
I-
also, I mean, like Marvel has like such a huge backing
Now,
prior.
yeah.
Well, I mean, even prior to
Yeah.
Iron Man and stuff, it had the context of like just comic fans and whatnot. So I mean, I wonder what really could be the next Marvel
yeah,
franchise.
it's
It
like
just
a
seems-
known. You're right, because Marvel
Yeah.
is what 50 years. It's a really old known IP,
Yeah.
and everyone points at DC, but it's a very different.
Marvel's older,
time.
no, DC's
DC's
older.
older, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
DC's older, but Marvel's like a little bit more modern. So like you can
Yeah.
do all that stuff.
Well, it's
with
also
it.
relatable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then
right.
DC's
They're all
more
mostly
of-
human.
Yeah.
DC's ideal, and Marvel's like more like relatable. So.
Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens. I mean, I don't think I wouldn't bet against the MCU folks, so I assume in 10, 20 years we'll be talking about whatever the
You
next
think
big
so?
thing is, and
Yeah.
it's probably going to be on Netflix, to be honest with you. I'm just kidding. No, Disney Plus or whatever. But
Because I mean, like, I'll put this out there. Like, I feel like I don't know. Like, I feel like Marvel could go the way of the Western though. Because like, how long was the Western
For a
genre?
decade.
For a decade.
Yeah.
Oh, so this has been way longer
Yeah.
than the Western. Huh?
yeah, the only reason I say I wouldn't bet against them is this.
The 70s were like
I think
the decade for westerns.
Yeah, but I think I sent John this thing from Avengers and then Avengers Age of Ultron. There is always an article that says this is peak and now it's superhero fatigue is going to set in.
Yeah.
But it never happened in those, all the time that they've rewritten
Yeah.
the same article and just changed the date it was published.
Hmm.
I have no idea. And I don't know.
It's just so fascinating that people really care about superheroes that
Yeah.
much. I don't know.
And specifically just these these Marvel ones. And I feel like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
what the good pairing is with Disney, because Disney, if anything, knows how to make their thing relevant for a long time. And by
Oh,
that I
yeah.
mean they're gonna. It's already super important for children, but guess what happens to those kids? They're
Grow
gonna
up.
grow.
And then the
And-
nostalgia.
Yeah, and then they get the second. I mean, now with the live action stuff, you want to see Lion King again? Like, yeah,
Oh, man.
sure. Let's fucking do it.
Aladdin. a second
Aladdin,
fucking time?
maybe no, but I
Always some kind of Aladdin squad.
Yeah.
off topic question. Do you think
Some
that
kind of Fresh Prince.
Do you think that,
Aladdin
like,
squad?
Lion King, Jungle Book type movie should be called live action?
No.
Okay, cool. That's like a weird thing because I'm like, yeah, I guess
What's the
it's
most obscure Disney movie that they ought to make live action into?
Song of the South hasn't been out of the vault.
Oh fucking hell!
Well, it hasn't been
Why
out of.
did you go there?
I'm just
God
saying.
Damn it,
it's,
Delphin.
it's not out of the Disney vault,
Hey,
and
hey, that ride in Disney World is great.
it is.
You're gonna
fun.
leave
It's so
that.
much fun.
You're gonna leave that
Bear
here
Rabbit.
because it sucks. But like,
Well, I'm
Goddamn.
just 100% sure. Like, it's such a weird thing. Like, I went to that Disney shareholder meeting, and 3 of the questions were, "When are you going to release Song of the South?"
and they're just like, "Fuck you."
And I was like, "Whoa, this is a lot. This is really
like,
tough stuff."
Where's Bear Rabbit?
Brazil.
Where's Bear?
Aquarela do Brazil.
Bear? I don't
yeah,
know.
they have a lot of really old stuff, I guess. And
Aquarela do Brazil. Like if you like Terry Gilliam, like it's a Disney.
is it really?
What?
Take on Brazil.
Brazil?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Hmm.
Aquarela do Brazil.
And
Huh.
you know, Disney
I've
doesn't
never
really.
heard that.
They don't
Oh,
really.
we should probably. Oh.
Their
Yeah,
whole
we should
live
watch
Alan
it.
Horn,
Yeah.
the whole live action part of Disney is now just a
John
lot of
Favreau, I know.
these
yeah.
remakes, and John Favreau now, who is like the king of Disney, he's now a Disney legend as of like this
And
weekend.
now
or
he's taking
something.
on Star Wars. I heard he's gonna be like Kevin Feige
The
type.
Mandalorian.
I know.
Yeah.
How exciting. But yeah, cool. I mean, I don't really talk about. I mean, it's gonna
Yeah,
pass Avatar,
sorry.
and
Yeah.
it's gonna pass Avatar in box office by the end of this weekend. In domestic, I don't know how it's doing worldwide. I will say this, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but
Huh.
I feel like Avatar and Titanic were #1 in the box office for months.
Oh yeah, they had a great shelf life.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
like what do they call it? Not leg
Legs.
room.
They
Good
call it
legs.
legs. Just
They
good
had
legs.
good getaway sticks,
Yeah,
baby.
it's sexy
diamond,
legs.
legs
Yeah.
diamond. Yeah.
But this movie, and maybe it's just the time that we're in. It's like
Yeah.
make your money in the first weekend and then get out of there.
That's kind of how it is. Like no one really watches a movie like a month after it comes out, right?
Or
You're just
does
kinda
it?
moved on.
I'm sure. Like
It's
I
weird.
watched Shazam
Yeah.
pretty late.
But
in the
John,
game.
you're an outlier,
Yeah, we have to.
and I love outliers.
That's totally
we-
true. Yeah.
I
yeah.
we
love
technically have to watch these movies no matter what.
Cinephiles, fuck you, because you have a lot of work,
A lot of free time.
cut out for you. Yeah.
But that's one because I
don't have
remember
a lot of free time. Fuck you.
when Titanic came out. Hey, fuck you. Just
Fuck
kidding.
you.
When Titanic came out, not only was that movie so talked about everywhere on like the news, but it was the #1 requested song. Like it was legitimately the #1 pop culture thing for months. Titanic. Kind of the same with
Titanic,
Avatar
yeah.
for a long time. It was just, I mean, this is the #1 reason why Princess and the Frog failed is because it came out the same week of Avatar. And there's a whole list of movies that came out the same week or after Avatar that failed. But it's kind of weird because Endgame has only been out 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's slowly already
Starting to
fade. Yeah. Godzilla's coming. So I don't know.
and John
weird.
Wick.
John Wick is already beating it in the box office, baby.
Parabellum
Parabellum.
on Revenge of the Sequel.
All
podcast.
right.
Okay.
Well, guys, thanks for listening to this shortened episode of Countdown to Infinity and Avengers podcast. I know we talked about a lot of random stuff, but we are going to see you again next week. But listen to our other podcast, Revenge of the Sequel, a podcast just about sequels. There's new episodes out there. You can go to patreon.com/DelphinPod and donate to the pod. There's episodes, and our next episode, which has something to do with space,
Is
will
it?
be out there. Yeah.
Which one is that?
Space battles. Wink, wink.
What the fuck? Oh, okay. Yeah, my bad. I'm so sorry.
The people on Patreon will get to listen to that new thing.
I thought you meant immediately. I was like, what? It's gonna be swamp.
No. What do you guys have to plug? Remember, this is going out to a very large audience.
What do you have to plug, Adam?
Oh, if you love auteur
Movies,
theory and
yeah.
movies in general, check me out on Director Showdown. You can check us out on iTunes or Stitcher. We choose 2 directors and face them off and watch their selected filmography, and we have a great time. And these 2 lovely boys are on a few episodes.
We're lovely boys.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I mean that in the most genuine, sincere way.
Yeah.
But
I
you
was
guys
just-
can just like destroy that compliment. It's
He-
fine.
he-
I
winked.
feel like you're doing it
Yeah.
right now.
He winked. He winked to both of us at the same time.
I'm using both my eyes to
Yeah.
wink.
I
at
can't
each
even
one.
wink, so I'm just like,
It was just a blink.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can't really wink. Okay. Anyways, yeah, check out Director Showdown and check out everything on Sticker Fridge Studios. It's an art collective based in San Antonio. We have a lot of cool stuff like podcasts and videos.
yeah, stickfridge.com, the website is
Mhm.
pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Loads of things to chew on. right there.
John, what do you have to plug?
Everything that Adam had to plug,
All right,
Mm.
cool.
and that's
Synergy.
it.
What
No,
do you
just
have
saying-
to plug?
I
No,
just plugged
uh,
everything.
Sticker Fridge, go on to stickerfridge.com. There's a lot of, everyone, we got some cool takes on that. Fucking hell.
Wow,
fuck y'all.
John, you're really choking up about Sticker Fridge, man. You have some weird emotional connection.
Exactly,
going on.
yeah. It's weird. I have a chub and then it's going down
What
for that
are
stuff.
you talking about?
I can fix that.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, later, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.